Hi, everybody. Um, Welcome. This evening, I think we're just going to have a group hangout where we're going to discuss using filters for photography, black and white photography, color photography, and infrared photography. We're going to talk about different filters, what they're used for, when to use them, when not to use them. We're going to talk about filter factors, which is how filters change the exposure. Um, and it's an open forum, so everybody gets to talk and ask questions while we're going. Okay, so interrupt me as you please. Ask questions. If I state something that's not true, just reach to the screen, grab me, and slap me. Although I'm not sure that I'll do that, but there's always the opportunity for antiquated brain tissue to make mistakes. You know what I mean? So, how many of you guys use filters?
I do sometimes, but probably not always in the right, probably in the right conditions.
Okay, what filters do you typically use?
I have used polarizers when I've been out west and it's really blue sky, just to try to tone it down a bit. But then I found that when I used them, that it was somewhat permanent on the image. So if I didn't get the polarizer just right and I got like vignetting in the corners, then I was kind of annoyed because you can't get that out in post unless you just crop it out.
Mm-hmm. Good point. That's especially true in ultra wide angle.
Yeah.
All right, Linda, do you use filters?
I'm getting better. It's been one of my goals lately. I use a polarizer, usually only with water shots. Usually when I'm trying to do a reflection. And I've heard contrasting things, but I've just decided to use it my own way. Is I can put the polarizer on and get the kind of the glare off the water, but leave the reflection. And I've been told you can't do that, but I've done it enough times. I don't know where these people are getting that idea from. But if you could explain that, that would be great. And then about a month ago, or no, probably 2 or 3 months ago, I finally broke down and bought a better neutral density. I had a variable one that is basically about useful for a coaster. But I bought it's funny numbering, but I think it's about a 3-stop or a 4-stop one. It really says 16 on it. I didn't understand. The camera store guy helped me. But that is really good for making the waterfall smooth and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, what brand?
Um, I'll have to go get my camera bag and look it up.
Okay. Miss Sherry, are you using
Yeah,
filters?
I have tons of filters. I've
And
had filters, and then when I change out lens, they don't fit. I've bought different filters. I have the 10 stop. I have the 2-stop. I have the graduated filters, the square ones as well. I have the that really beautiful square black one. So
okay.
yeah, and I use them, but I have to consciously use them
Okay.
because it's just more stuff to carry.
It is. It is. In fact, filters are kind of the bane of my existence because they are so plentiful, and they seem to procreate your camera bag while you're asleep at night and you have more the next day.
I've even given filters away because they keep growing. They're like rabbits procreating.
Yeah, you're right there. Okay. William, I know you use filters too. What do you like to use?
No, I really don't, and that's why I asked this class. I mean, I use the IR filters, and then I've recently purchased the neutral density filter, but that's it. I haven't even had a chance to use it.
All right. Don't you use close-up filters?
A what?
Close-up filters?
No, very rare. Very rare.
Okay. See, I thought maybe those would be something that you used as well.
No, I have a couple, and I'll use them when I don't want to use tubes, but most of the time I'll just use extension tubes.
Okay. All right, that's fair enough. Well, I am a very big filter user. Okay. Now, probably most of you do this. When you buy a lens from the camera store, what's the first thing that the salesman tries to sell you as an accessory?
Well, that funny, stupid thing he says it'll protect the lens, which to me is distortion.
That UV filter.
Yeah.
The UV filter. Oh, they say, oh, you need to spend $100 and buy this UV filter to protect the front objective lens of your brand new lens. But in all honesty, if something's going to be bad enough to break that UV filter, it's also going to damage your objective lens. And there is a hard and fast rule when it comes to filter photography. And that is this, that any piece of glass you place in front of your lens is going to affect the image quality. Thus, if you buy really, really cheap glass, if you buy Hoyas or Tiffins or some of these Chinese knockoff filters, and you put that on your glass that isn't German shot glass, you are going to affect that picture in a very negative fashion, because what happens is they don't have the anti-reflection coatings on the surfaces of the glass, and you tend to get more hot spots, more sun flares, more of just about everything that can go wrong with a lens shooting in bright light.
Okay, you said the German and also German shot glass also?
Any company that uses the German shot glass that has the micro thin vapor.
That's not good?
No, those are the good ones.
Oh, okay, because that's what I thought, and I was getting confused. Okay.
No, those are the good ones. But you have
German shot glasses, those are for Jägermeister, right?
Yeah.
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 Raise a glass to everyone, right?
Yeah.
Then you won't notice if the lens broke.
Yeah, that's true.
You won't notice anything.
I don't know though if you won't care. You'd have to raise an awful lot of them to not care.
Sure.
But the key is the shot glass is highly refined, and they put special additives in it to increase the light transmission through the filter glass in a fashion so that it will not affect the image via changing the angles of the lights as it enters and exits each flat plane of every piece of glass in successive range through the lens. Okay, you pay more money for these. Okay.
Who makes those, Mark? Sorry.
Pardon?
Who are the manufacturers of those?
The most widely known is B+W. There are other companies out there. For instance, Heliopan. Okay.
Yep.
If you think that B+W is expensive, where do you go to buy a Heliopan?
Yep.
Price of the camera.
Hoya and
Cost
Tiffin.
for that.
Yeah. Hoya and Tiffin are now advertising a pro line of filters made with shot glass, as well as ProMaster. I have used some of the Hoya and Tiffin filters, and I've been mildly surprised at the quality of them. ProMaster's Pro line, I have nothing but very bad experience, even with the ones that they say are multi-coated with the anti-reflection coatings, and they also say they're made out of shot glass. But I've had very, very bad luck with those, and I've never had any positive thing to say about any of the Chinese filters that are coming out of China, and you'll find them wildly advertised and sold on Facebook and eBay. Okay. But let's jump back and let's talk about that ultraviolet filter. The only time you should have to put an ultraviolet filter on the front of your lens is if you're shooting infrared and you want to convert the camera back to a color camera, and then you have to have an ultraviolet filter and an infrared filter. And of course there's a gotcha on that too. Those are only on the full spectrum conversions where they take the hot mirror off the sensor. And what the hot mirror is a specialty filter. It's two filters together, sandwiched. One is infrared blocking and one is ultraviolet blocking. Okay? And then they replace that with a piece of clear glass. Hopefully they use shot glass, right? Mm. You will do much better protecting your expensive lens by doing two things. Number one, always have your lens hood on. Okay, so the lens hood is going to act as a bumper, if you will, to keep the front of your lens off of hard, nasty, cold, wet, muddy things. Number two is to leave your lens cap on until it's time to shoot. I would much rather have to take 1 second to take that lens cap off than to have to shoot through a, forgive me, a crap piece of glass in front of my $1,000 or $2,000 or $8,000 lens. You follow my meaning? Anything that is going to degrade your image takes away from your financial investment in these high-quality cameras and lenses. Do you understand what I'm trying to say here?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Now, can somebody else tell me the second reason why you should always have your lens hood on?
Flare.
Flare. That's one thing. There's an even more important reason.
If you bump up against something.
No. That's a good reason, but no. Sherry, you should know this because we taught this at that workshop.
Rain.
What?
Rain.
No. Rain. If it's raining, it's going to get in there, and you're going to have to wipe it off. Here it is. Picture this. This is the objective. This is the objective of your lens. Okay, even though it's yellow, yes, some squirrel climbed up on there and peed on it. And as any light strikes the objective at an angle from a side,
Contrast.
yes, it enters at a very sharp angle, and it zigzags through the lens. And as it does that, it decreases lens contrast. This is a really big deal. Have you ever noticed that every once in a while you're taking these wonderful pictures and you offload them from your camera onto your computer and you say to yourself, oh my goodness, there's no contrast in this picture. What did I do wrong with my exposure? 9 times out of 10, it's because you weren't using a lens hood.
Karen, that must have been the night they didn't invite us to the workshop when they told that story.
No, that was not in the field. Every time I saw somebody taking a picture without a lens hood, I stopped them and I said, "This is why you got to have your lens hood."
I'm usually good about always having a lens hood because I use it as a bumper. Really, I didn't even think about it for the reason, but I use it mostly because.
Yeah, and I don't care if you're in the shade, or if you're in the bright sun, or if you're in overcast. There's always going to be light striking that objective from a very extreme angle.
Interesting. Okay.
And it's going to zigzag through that camera lens, and it's going to decrease in lens contrast.
Okay. Now I will remember that. Thank you.
That is a very, very big deal.
One more thing to carry, Sherry.
So, having said my personal beliefs on ultraviolet filters, and that's what they are, is they're personal. And I will warn you that if you take my advice and drop your lens and break your lens, you're not allowed to blame me. You've got to leave the lens cap on, okay? I spend a lot of money on my cameras and lenses, as well as you guys. everybody except William. William buys crap cameras.
That's pretty good one.
Made you laugh, didn't I?
How
Yes, you
cool
did.
is that?
No, the truth is funny. It hurts,
No.
but it's funny.
There has to be a miser. There just has to be. Okay.
That's right.
It works perfectly for me. But we spend a lot of money. And William, you may be using low-cost mirrorless cameras for your macro work, but your camera setups and lenses and filters and lighting, that's where your money resides.
Absolutely.
And for cycle analysis,
Yeah.
for hanging around with your head down in the dirts and the flowers and the plants with.
Yep. No. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Okay, so enough of that. You all understand the reasons, and I'll say this one more time. With filters, you get what you pay for. There are some things you just shouldn't scrimp on. Filters are the #1 photographic accessory you should pay whatever you can stomach to afford. I suggest B+W lenses. Because they're a middle-of-the-road lens. Each and every one is made with shot glass. They all have the vapor manufactured anti-reflection coatings. Some of them have 2 or 3 coatings, and they come in different quality factors: the single-coated or the multi-coated. For the type of photography I do, I generally buy the single-coated because I'm either doing ultra-long exposures where I'm not looking for sharpness, or I'm doing black and white where it just doesn't matter. Okay.
What would you use the multi-code for? What would be a scenario that you would type of?
I am glad you asked that, because that brings us to our first filter tonight, and that is the all-inclusive and gift from God, Mr. Polarizer. Okay? With a polarizer, you want to buy multi-coated shot glass filters. The polarizer is going to be your main workhorse for a multitude of reasons. And one of them that we discussed just a few minutes ago, somebody asked me the question about it. Let's see here, about adjusting, Linda, that was you, about adjusting out some of the reflections, but not all.
Yeah, and I don't know, I wouldn't even really call it reflections. Like, when I do it, the mountain is still reflected, but what goes away is, like, the shiny part on the water.
Yes, absolutely. And you see, this is the thing about a polarizer. Polarizers are adjustable. You can adjust the intensity of the polarizing effect. Okay? And being that it's adjustable, you can partially adjust it so that it doesn't take out every reflection. Okay? But polarizers, aside from reflections and taking out things like bright spots on damp leaves, okay, there is another benefit for shooting with a polarizer. Does anybody know what it is? It is that it increases color saturation in your image.
Mm.
Okay? So,
on that, does it do anything that you can't do in Photoshop?
absolutely. The Photoshop polarizing filters, the plugins, are a poor comparison of what the real thing can do.
No, I don't even mean the polarizing filters in Photoshop. I mean, like, let's say Nick, put a Vivasa point there and make the sky as blue as I want.
You can. But the thing about a polarizing filter is it oversaturates every single color coming through that lens. And it does it in a broad spectrum across the entire color gamut of the image. So it's going to make the greens greener, the blue bluer, okay? and on and on and on. It's a great filter. And you can dial it down for the minimum effect. You don't have to have it dialed up. But that means that you have another step in your composition. You have to physically look through the viewfinder at the scene as you turn the polarizer. And you can turn it down so that the effect is lessened, okay? It's because of this saturation increase by using a polarizer that I leave them on my lenses all the time.
Oh.
Okay. Now, I will take them off for long exposures and for evening and nighttime shooting. But the rest of the time, I leave it on all the time. Now, that should raise a question. And it has to do, I'm not going to ask you for it, but it has to do with the fact that because a polarizer is variable and it's adjustable for the effect, there is an exposure loss when you use a polarizer. And for 90% of the polarizers out there, it's between 1 and 3 stops. Now, for those of you who are using a DSLR that meters through the lens, that's no big deal because your camera is going to compensate for it, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And that, am I still there?
Yes, you're still there, Mark.
Okay. And you also have to make sure that you're using the right kind of polarizer for your camera. There are 2 types out there in the world. There's the linear polarizer and there's a circular polarizer. And years ago when the DSLRs came out and they had the mirror that comes down at a 45-degree angle that would reflect the light up through the viewfinder and through the metering sensors. A linear polarizer would cut the amount of light reaching the exposure sensor by a great amount, so everybody was getting way underexposed images, not understanding why. So they came out with a new circular polarizing style to do away with that. Now, you can use a circular polarizer on every kind of camera in the world. You cannot use a linear polarizer on DSLRs. Now, the linear polarizers have a tendency to be more effective in the removal of bright reflections than the circular, but both work. Now, for those of you who are shooting mirrorless, all bets are off. You can use both the linear and the circular. Now, I haven't tried this, but all of the companies are saying that if you shoot mirrorless and you're not reflecting off of a mirror into exposure sensors inside the guts of the camera, either one of them will work in mirrorless. Okay? So, why would you want to use a linear polarizer over a circular polarizer? And this question is directed at you, William.
Linear polarizer over a circular. Why would I want to use one? I don't know, Mark.
All right, that's fine. Okay, we are going to take a macro or a micro photograph, and we are going to use 2 flashlight sources like you use.
Right.
And we're going to go and we're going to buy polarizing gel filters.
Right.
And we're going to cut one to go over one flash one way so it polarizes the light in one direction.
Right.
And we're going to cut the other one to go the other direction on the other flash.
Right, and so they cancel.
It's so that you can remove 100% of the reflections off your bugs. There are all kinds of papers written about using this technique for micro photography.
Okay.
For that, you're going to need a linear polarizer on your camera.
Okay.
All right. And I can point you to books that Canon wrote on this subject that will talk about this. But they do amazing things with macro work. Okay.
I bet they do. The concept, the only concern is the loss of light.
Yes. Okay, now let's talk about that loss of light. 1 to 3 stops. B+W just came out with a new polarizer called a Castleman. They have ultra low filter rings. They're made for really, really wide angle lenses so that there's less chance of vignetting in the corners.
Okay.
And instead of 1 to 3 stops, they're a half a stop to a stop and a half.
Okay.
Now these polarizers, these are expensive. Okay, you're going to pay about $175 for a 77 millimeter one.
Okay.
All right, but they are made for ultra wide angles, and they're made so that they have less of an exposure impact on your photography.
And what's the name of it?
They're the B+W ultra wide Castleman.
Okay. And only a half stop.
Half stop to 1.5, depending on how you adjust it.
Okay.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's a stop and a half of difference, and that's a
Okay.
big deal.
It's a huge deal for what I do.
All right. So, any questions about the polarizer? Well, there's one more thing we should talk about the polarizer. For those of you who are shooting a film camera that's not TTL metering,
Okay.
and yes, I know that there's at least one of you out here watching tonight. You need to know what type of filter factor to dial into your camera because of the light loss to the polarizer. And that's kind of a difficult subject. You have to guess at it. 1 to 3 stops. So if you set the polarizer to maximum value, and you're using a standard circular or linear polarizer, you're going to need to overcome the light loss because you can't meter for it because you're not metering through the lens. So you're going to dial in plus 3 EV to let in 3 more stops of light. Okay?
Okay.
So we're going to talk about that kind of thing again here in a few minutes. Let's go on to ND filters. All right? Yes, these are standard sunglasses for your camera. I carry, and they're fixed. They're not graduated, okay? They're just solids. I keep 3 of them in my toolkit. I keep a 3-stop, a 6-stop, and a 10-stop. Okay? And you can stack 2 of these. So you could stack a 10 and a 6 to get 16. Now, obviously, they're solids, so you can't compensate for brighter light at a sunset with the sun setting. For that, you're going to need a specialized set of filters, like the Lee filters, the 7.5 system, and their bigger systems, which are rectangular. And then you can get split filters with a soft transition in the middle, with 1, 2, 3, or 4 stops graduated going up the top of the filter and the bottom of the filter, absolutely clear. So then you have a filter holder that sits on the front of your camera, and you can slide these filters up and down and position the start of that graduated change to darker where you need it to be in the picture. And a good example of that, let me show you an example of that, all right? Let's see here. I'm still with you, all right?
Yes, sir.
Boy, tonight is different than last night. right. Here's a good example of one of these. This is 45 seconds. All right, here's a better one. Let's look at this one. This is an image that you could not do with a standard polarizer or a standard ND filter. This is after the sun has set, okay? The sun has set right here in the image, and the sky is so bright that it was at least 5 stops brighter than the foreground. At least. So putting a solid ND filter on this wouldn't work, because this, if I had this good exposure for the sky, then this would be perfectly black down here, and a little bit of information in the reflection, see? So I put a polarizer, a soft graduated 4-stop polarizer, and I put the start of the soft grad right here on the horizon. Okay, and this one happened to be a reverse grad, so it started a little bit, it went to the full 4 stops right about here, and then it gradually fell away back to about 1 stop as it reached the top. So I could balance the image. I could take away some of the intensity of the light here that gave me the ability to get more detail in the foreground. Do you understand what I'm saying here?
But you said it was reversed, so that would that mean it's darker on the bottom to graduate?
Well, it's perfectly clear up to the center.
Okay.
And then it starts to darken really fast, like within 1/4 of an inch. It goes to the full 4 stops. And then it gradually goes from 4 stops down to 1 stop as it approaches the top.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay, that's called a reversed graduated ND. And what you use it for are sunsets and sunrises.
Okay.
So that when the sun's right at the horizon, where it's the brightest, we can have greater ND effect right here. Okay, if you're going to be doing sunrises and sunsets, this is the filter that you want. Okay, and then I might stack that with a 10-stop ND, and in this case I stacked it with a 6-stop. Okay, so the entire image had 6 stops, so I could slow the shutter speed down. And then I had this reverse graduated soft edge ND up on the top. All right, and then there's one more. Here we go. Same thing here. This is a sunrise. Okay, I had a 10-stop. Okay, solid ND in the first filter holder position on the end of my lens, and then I had the 4-stop reverse graduated ND starting right here at the horizon and going up. And then that way I was able to balance the sky to the water and yet get some detail and not have this bright sun here blow the whole image out.
Mark, are these screw-on or are they the plates?
They are the plates.
Okay.
Sometimes you just have to use the plates, and if you're going to be doing sunrises and sunsets or waterfalls during the day,
yeah,
you're going to need a set of graduated ND filters.
Okay.
All right.
Do you have an example of a waterfall? And if that takes up almost the whole image, would you still use a graduated one, or would you use?
Yeah, I would use a graduated one. It would be at the top of the frame, though.
Okay.
All right, and yes, I have examples of that.
So, like where the most water, I guess, is surging. Is what you're saying. Okay.
Right here.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right, this was ultra bright up here. I mean, this was blown out beyond words. So I put a standard soft graduated. This was 3 stops, I believe, and I put the edge of it right here where the mountains are starting to pick up from the river, and it goes up to about here before it starts to darken. Then it gets darker and darker and darker and darker all the way up to the top. So that compensated for the sky and balanced the image so I could get the same basic tonality in the sky as I got in the blue water here.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that allowed me to have a nice long exposure. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me.
And is that the plate system that you use? Is that B+W as well, or is that somebody else?
No, I use the Lee system.
Okay.
The LEE system.
Yeah, I used to use those on film.
And if you guys will remind me at the end of this, I will get the system out and show it to you, okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So back with you. Now let's talk about some other color filters that you might use. I mean, obviously the main one's going to be a polarizer in your ND filters, right? What about if you're shooting in the mountains and you've got a lot of snow and you've got some plants and you want to warm the image up? There is a filter called the 81A and 81B, and there's one is slightly brown and the other is a little bit more brown. I think the difference is only 1 stop between them. And they will warm up the entire image. Now you can buy polarizers with this built in. You can also buy what's known as a blue and gold polarizer. Stingray sells this. Mm-hmm. When you're shooting waterfalls, so that you can enhance the reflections on the surface of the water underneath the waterfall and increase the blue color of the water. And then the gold part will enhance the plants and the reflective surfaces on the rocks. Okay, it's called a Stingray Blue and Gold. Hold on to your purse strings, though, because it's going to be between $400 and $500. Okay. But the 81A and B, I rarely use them, but I have them from years past when I was shooting a lot of film and I wanted to warm the picture up on the film.
Sorry, Mark, I'm a filter doubter, so why would I do that instead of fix it in Photoshop?
Well, if you're shooting in film, how are you going to get that into Photoshop?
Oh, okay. Well, I could do what you do and develop the film and then scan it in.
You could.
I'm not going to shoot film, so it's irrelevant. So digitally, there's not that much of an advantage to it?
Well, to be honest with you, anything that I can do on the 81A and B filter, I can also do in Photoshop.
Okay.
Because that's very light filtering. Although, I am going to have to tell you that the very best thing that you can learn to do as a photographer is to get it right in camera first. Because what that means is you have less post-processing after the fact.
Yeah, I think that depends on what kind of shooter you are, though. I like post-processing more than I like messing with filters.
Well, they're not for everybody. But if you're going to shoot black and white, though, then all bets are off.
For which filter?
If you're going to be shooting a black and white camera, you're going to want to filter with an external filter on your lens, and you're going to want 3 styles of lenses. you're going to want your yellow lens. Does that look yellow?
Yes.
Okay. A yellow lens for black and white, what it does is it will darken and add contrast to the skies and a little bit of contrast to the greenery of the shrubbery and leaves. Okay. The yellow filter has a one-stop exposure hit. Okay, and we're gonna talk about these.
So Mark, are you talking like regular color black and white, or are you talking infrared?
No, I am talking about regular color black and white.
Okay.
Okay, not infrared. Especially if you're going to shoot film, or if you're going to purchase a black and white only digital camera, which there are several out there now. All right. Yeah, I can do a really good job of converting a color image to black and white on my computer. I'm very practiced at that. But I will tell you that if I want the best black and white image that I can possibly get, I'm going to dig out my black and white digital body, and I'm going to shoot with that. And I'm going to use the 3 black and white filters. I'll use a yellow, or I will use a red, which has a, depending on the shade of the red, is between 2 and 3 stops of exposure compensation. The red is going to make the blue sky black. It's going to make the clouds leap off of the image. Okay. And if you look, let's see here. I'm moving it around the scene. There's less. Yeah, it's making my face red. It's not really. I'm not seeing a change in the blues. So let's try it with the yellow. Yeah, now the yellow, I'm seeing increased contrast on the skin tones and my beard.
Yeah.
Okay. And look at what it does to the shirt, and then when I cross over to the skin, okay, it makes a huge difference. It's not doing hardly anything to the red drapes. You notice that?
Right.
Okay. And then there's one more. There's the green filter. Oh my God, green. And the green filter is going to have around 4 stops. Let's see, what's this have for a filter factor? Oh no. This is a stop and a half. This has a 3x filter factor. And you use a green filter when you want to see differences in tonality in greenery. When you take a picture of, for instance, of a stream bed, okay. I'm going to show you what a green filter does. It won't take me long, just bear with me for a second. Ah, here we go. Okay, I have 2 images that I want you to look at. See, this is the same creek. All right, I just turn in 2 different directions, away from the light and to the light. And when I first took this image, all of these trees had the same tonality all the way down. Okay? But if by throwing the green filter on, can you guys see the difference in tonality of the different types of shrubbery as it goes off into the distance?
Yeah, that's a great shot.
That's a direct effect of that green filter. Look here. Wow. Look at the 3D effect as it starts to separate these pine trees going off into the distance and then the big oaks behind it. Otherwise, this would all just be a mass of kind of a black and white tree section and not be able to see any differentiation between them. So it adds a 3D effect to your images, and that is a pure example of what using a green filter can do. All right.
Now, Mark, were all the trees in green? There wasn't it wasn't fall time where there was foliage, right?
No. This is the middle of summer.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay. Now, I also want you to pay particular attention. You can see it better in this image. Look at the shading of the water, how it takes on a metallic platinum look and feel.
That's nice.
This is a direct result of that green filter. You cannot achieve this in Photoshop at all. Okay, it's just impossible. So, how can you do this with your digital camera? As much as it pains me to say this, you're going to have to take it out of the RAW mode, put it in JPG, and turn on the black and white only art filter and take the image in black and white. Then you can put on the green filter or the yellow filter or the red filter and get this style of result right in camera.
It will actually, you think it'll pull it out versus...
Oh, it will.
Okay.
It will. It will indeed.
Okay.
Okay?
That's easy enough to do. I like the idea of that. Less filters to buy.
All right, so I'm back. So those are the 3 black and white filters. Yeah, I have an orange filter. An orange filter is between the yellow and the red. It still adds contrast and darkens the sky, but it just has less of an exposure hit than the red filter.
I like an orange filter. I used to use one of those a lot.
Yes. I also have blue, but in all honesty, I have never figured out where I would want to use the blue filter because it just makes everything just so horribly dark.
Yeah.
Okay. We've talked about the ND filters. Let's talk about infrared filters for a few minutes, okay? I'm going to share my screen one more time. And I'm not going to show you images this time. Oh, you know what? I have these open in Photoshop. See, I was pre-prepared and I wasn't even thinking about it. These are all in Understanding Filters. It's a directory in our group drive. Here's a chart telling what the blue, red, the orange, yellow, and the green do. Okay? It talks about the filter factor. Most filters have a 4x, a 2x, or some sort of an x on it, and how that equates out to stops. Am I still there? You guys?
Yeah, yes, sorry, I was on mute. Yes.
Okay. So having these little charts can be really, really helpful. And if you're going to shoot black and white, this is an indispensable learning aid for you. Okay? Infrared filters. This is a list of the common infrared filters. I have listed most of them in their B&W numbers. Okay? We have the first one's called an 040. It is 550 nanometers. It is a yellow and orange combination filter. Okay, it has a filter factor of 4. Now, I'm going to bring up a chart where it tells what these filter factor numbers equate to. Okay, but 4 is not that much. The 041, this is a orange and red. This is 570 nanometers. And for those of you who are going to shoot with a dual spectrum or a full spectrum conversion camera, you can use all of these filters, okay? The 090, this is a filter factor of 5. That's a light red. That's about 2 stops, okay? The 091, this is the darker red. This is the Rattan number 29 from the old film days. This says a filter factor of 8, It's about 3 stops. Then we get into the 665s, the 092. The filter factor now jumps up. Now, these filter factors only apply to color cameras. Everything is different when you're shooting an infrared conversion, because these filters become semi-transparent to infrared energy and get opaque towards visible light. So these filter factors have no meaning in infrared. Okay, 093, that's 830 nanometers. Still, this is a filter factor of 50. 094 is 1,000 nanometer. This is really deep, and this is really going to give you a long exposure even on a converted camera, because we're at the end of the sensitivity chart for digital camera sensors on this one. Okay, and so forth and so on. Then we have Tiffin filters, 047B. This is a tri-band deep blue filter. It lets a little bit of UV in. It lets a little bit of blue visible light in. It lets in a little bit of infrared. And what this camera does is it gives you in-camera false color without having to post-process them. LifePixel uses this in a conversion called their Super Blue.
Mark, back to that 1,000 nanometer one.
Yes.
What's the advantage to that? Like, do the whites do that, whatever whites do in infrared better in 1,000, or what happens?
Really, this has no place on a digital camera, because
Okay.
the drop off of the sensitivity at 1,000 nanometers is at 1,000, it's right down almost at 0.
Yep.
This is really designed for film cameras,
Okay.
shooting a high sensitivity infrared film.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. And then we have filters to convert the cameras back from infrared to color. LDP, which is MaxMax.com, sells something called the CC1. It's ultraviolet and infrared cutting, so it only allows visible light through. But I have found that on the ultraviolet end of things, it lets too much ultraviolet through, and it tends to change your blue skies to aqua. And then there is the B&W 486, and this one is just the opposite. Okay, but if you combine this filter and this filter together, then you get something very similar to what comes out of that camera when they operate on it, and it will convert it back to black to normal color for you. And there are companies that sell these sandwiched together. Kalari Vision has it. All right, and their filters are very, very inexpensive. This will only work on a dual spectrum or a full spectrum conversion. Okay? You guys still with me?
Yes.
Okay. Now, here's a chart talking about converting the filter factors. Okay, now my yellow filter, okay, is a 2X filter. Where's my yellow filter? There it is. If I look at this, this is a B plus W. It says it's a 022, that's the filter number. It says it has a 2X on it. That means, you can look on this chart, that it has a filter factor, okay, of 8. But, oh, you know what? I misspoke. The 2X is a filter factor, but that's a one-stop difference. Okay? So if you put this on a camera that doesn't meter through the lens, you have to dial in +1 EV. My red filter that I showed you has a 5x on it. So we go up here to 5. And this says 2 1/3 stops. But, it's basically just 2 stops. Okay? And then the deep red, the Ratten 29, is an 8x, and that's 3 stops. Okay, the green that I showed you, that says it has a 3x on it. So you find the 3 on it, 3.4, 3.2, basically 1.5 stops, okay? So this is how you compensate for it. You're basically just going to divide the filter factor by a certain amount, and as the filter factors are logarithmic, they're not linear. So here we can divide a 2x by 1 and get 1 stop. Okay, we go up to 8x instead of 4 stops. It's 3. See how it's changing? 16x is 4 stops. So this is logarithmic. This is not linear. So it's good to have a chart, or to take a white paint pen and write on your filters. Okay, and that's for those of you. See, that's the black and white. We've done that. Neutral density filters. You guys still with me?
Yes.
Okay. There's a chart in here that talks about the neutral density filters. They are the hardest to figure out.
Yeah, because that's what I was going to ask you. The 0.3 makes no sense to me at all.
Yeah, it doesn't. Basically, we have the filter factors coming down, okay? And then we have the difference in f-stops, okay? So this one says 1,000x. This is your 10 stop, okay? This is a really good chart because this is going to tell you all of the ways. This is all of the companies and how they label their filters. For instance, the B+W, let me pull out a 110 here. That's an 092. 102. All right, I didn't pull out a 110. I pulled out a 106, which is a 6 stop. So we'll do that, okay? So basically, that's this one. And on my filter, it says 106. So I know that that's 6 stops, okay? That's what the 106 means. A 10 stop would be a 110. A 3 stop would be a 103, okay? But also on the filter, it says 10x, okay? Also on the filter, let's see here, there's a 1.6 on it for the 6 stop. So let's go back up here to the 3. Is this the 6 stop? Okay, this chart doesn't have the. Here's the 0.1. So it's going to be right in here. Okay. But I have other charts that will lay this out for you in no uncertain terms. You know what? And that's on my blog. I didn't think to pull that out, but I'll grab that chart and put on this in the directory too. Okay. But with B&W filters, it's easy because they all have a 3-digit number. 101 for 1 stop, 102 for 2, 103 for 3. The next one's 106 for 6, 110 for 10 stops. It makes it much easier for you, okay?
So, Mark, I have a question.
Okay.
Okay.
So here I am. I'm out there shooting a waterfall, and do I pick say I pick a neutral density lens, whatever, I pick that one.
Okay.
Do I pick one based upon how much light is already in the scene that
Yeah.
I can push to, meaning how many stops I can I can be willing to increase it by?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Basically, what you're going to do is, for instance, you have a 10 and a 6 and a 3, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And here, let me bring up another image for you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. My mic died.
Okay. So let me pick. All right, here's 180-second exposure. All right. This one was taken with a black and white monochrome only camera.
Okay.
I seem to have lost one of my menus, but I'll figure that out later. So what I'll do is I will take a meter reading with the camera of this scene.
Okay.
Okay, at the lowest ISO and the say f8.
Okay.
And let's say that gives me 1/60th of a second.
So you're an aperture priority or shutter priority?
Yes.
Okay.
Or aperture priority. We'll set it on f8. We'll let the
Okay.
camera choose the shutter. And I've metered this, and I've metered off these rocks right here, and this says 1/60th at f8 at 1/100th or at 100 ISO.
Right.
The lowest my camera will go.
Okay.
So then I will take out a 10-stop neutral density filter, and I will start subtracting shutter speeds one stop at a time. So one count. Here, let me bring you back here. Okay, so 1/60th of a second. So one stop makes that 1/30th. Two
Okay.
stops makes that 1/15th. Okay, count with me. What's the next one after 1/15?
1/8.
1/8.
1/8. Keep going.
1/4, 1/2, 1 second, 2
Okay,
seconds.
that's 6 stops.
Okay.
Okay, so 106 is only going to give us 1 second, so that's not nearly long enough to slow that water down. So let's keep going.
2 seconds, 4 seconds, 8 seconds, 16 seconds, 32 seconds.
Okay, so as you can see, if we want to extend that out, and I wasn't following you, William, but it was 16 seconds. Was that 10? I lost.
No, it was at 9. 9 was 16.
Okay, so 32 seconds.
Correct.
Okay, 32 seconds, as long as the waves in the ocean aren't that rough, it's going to smooth it out nice and slow. Okay? But now in the case of that picture, that was 180 seconds. The waves weren't so small that day. Okay? So I would have stacked 2 filters. I would have stacked the 110, the 10 stop, and a 6 stop. So if you keep on adding, we were at 32 seconds. Now let's take that 6 more stops.
64, 128, 256, 512, 1024, 2048, 4096.
Now divide that out divide that out from seconds and give me minutes.
Yeah, well, you go 60 into, what did we say?
Just 2,000.
Yeah, 2,060 into that, so it's going to be 300, a little over 330.
Okay. So, if you see the pictures where people get absolutely ultra smooth, pure water,
Yeah.
that's how they do it.
Yeah, I guess I never think about stacking them. I think I don't know. I think it's a big enough endeavor if I've used one sometimes.
But it depends on what you want to capture.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, in all honesty, most waterfalls are going to be good a half of a second to 4 or 5 seconds.
So you have a picture there in your tray of a waterfall where it's really dark around it. I don't know where you took that, but it looks like a place in Tennessee that I went to.
Hold on a second. I will grab that again. Which one was it?
It's
Oh, this one.
Oh yeah, they're right there. Yeah. Well, okay,
Nope.
it's not, but it's similar. All right, so I'm in that scene now. Was it bright when you were there, or was it overcast? Or
Oh, it was overcast with bright spots.
okay.
Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah. Let's see.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Mark.
Yes.
Yeah, 2048. I had to double check myself. That's 34 minutes.
Okay.
Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Okay. 34-minute exposure. Holy smokes.
I'd knock the tripod over by this.
Okay. This one was 2.5 seconds.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, so
this one's half of a second.
what would you pull out of the bag for this then? If you were did you use filters? I don't-
103.
No, I didn't mean the lens. I meant filters.
The 103, the three stop.
Oh, the the 103. Sorry.
Unless it's really bright, and then I would go to the 106.
Okay.
All right. Now let me show you some other examples.
So do you find that you would? So here's my question: if I'm going to the store right now, which is I was flipping over trying to look at Amazon for prices and stuff. If I was going to go to the store and buy only 3 lenses, plate and/or screw-on, whichever, 3 filters, which ones would I get first that I would use the most?
The 3 stop, the 6 stop, and the 10 stop.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. And then a circular polarizer.
The circular polarizer.
Okay.
All right. And as you see, I mean, even nighttime, I'm using like a 103 here. This picture of the Golden Gate Bridge,
Yeah.
the Bay Bridge in San Francisco. That's 24 seconds, but now I've got some really long ones here too. Here's 250 seconds.
Wow.
That's 4 minutes. Yep.
Okay. I've got some 8 and 9 minute ones in here. I just can never remember what they are. 200 seconds.
That rock jetty down below there is really pretty. Those are some nice shots too.
Yeah, these are called groins down here in South Carolina.
Okay.
I know, it's weird, right?
I don't think we call them here. Well, jetties. We from the north. We call them jetties.
Yeah, here's 60 seconds, 54, but I can't remember what the. I mean, here, balancing waterfalls and bright sunlight hitting the colored tree leaves by the grist mill up here. See this?
Yes.
This one was 200 seconds because it was so dark down here in the foreground, and it was so bright up here that I had to put a graduated ND filter up here, and I put it at an angle because the filter holders allow you to rotate them.
Yeah.
Now, Mark, on something like that, you would meter the darkest part and then the brightest part, and then figure out the difference between the two and set your filter strategy up like that?
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
Absolutely.
You just figure out the difference in stops between the two, figure out what you need to bring up the darker portion, and figure out how much you need to push down the lighter portion until they're even.
You have it exactly.
Okay. Okay.
It sounds like math. That makes my head hurt.
I'm good at math.
All right, here's one. All right, look at this. Look at this picture. This is 800 or 680 seconds.
Oh my gosh.
That's 10 minutes. Yeah, 11 minutes.
Okay.
11 minutes and 20 seconds. Yeah.
And this one was on the Fuji XE1.
Where do you go for 11 minutes?
This was taken in the dark.
What I was thinking is I'd like to photobomb one of these, but you'd have to stand there for the last minute, right, just to get any kind of image. It's so dark.
Yeah, and and that brings up a really good point.
Photobombing?
Yeah, or removing people from the photobomb.
Just let them keep on walking. Just tell them, hurry up. Get out of the way.
Now, here's one on the new A7.
Had to show the A7.
Yeah,
312 seconds.
He's got one for sale.
Not yet. They haven't come out with the 3.
That's true.
But no, I have an example. Let's talk about that for a second.
The tree. What's that tree one you were just on? Sorry.
That was on our workshop down at. I just taught a workshop for Nampa down on Jekyll Island.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sure.
And that's Jekyll Island.
We gotta go there next week.
Okay, you can teach ND filters there, right?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Okay.
Do a workshop with ND filters.
Santa Cruz.
That's pretty.
Out at Jennifer's house, but no, there's a very specific image.
So who's selling their A7?
Nobody.
Unless you have an original A7, not an A7 II.
Yeah, A7R too. Yeah.
Everyone, when the new one comes out, William.
That's right. And they'll be worth about a fourth of what they were new.
Exactly.
We'll pick them up cheap.
Exactly.
I'm thinking I can get 10 or 20 pretty cheap 5D Mark IIIs here in the next 6 months.
I think
Probably true too.
I think that might be a very good buy too if you're upgrading from a 2.
You got to get rid of that XT1 quick because the XT2 is coming out in another 2 months here.
All right, I am looking for a very specific picture. You can use these filters and long exposures. There we go. There we go. Okay, take a close look at this image. This is my 7-year-old grandson right here, and I'm sitting on the beach. I'm bored out of my mind. He's playing. I've got the camera set up on the tripod. And this is black and white only. This is the monochrome. That's all that this sees is black and white, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And he's laying here on the beach talking to me, and this kid's moving around back here, and I'm thinking, this would be a really cool picture if it weren't for these kids. So I reach over, and I throw a filter on.
And they're gone.
They're gone, and there he is here. That black mark, that's him.
Nice.
Okay.
Which filter did you use?
Yeah, which filter did you use?
This is probably the 110. This is the middle of the day. In fact, this is a stacked filter. This is 180 seconds in the middle of the afternoon.
Wow.
So this has got to be the 110 and the 106 for 16 stops.
An interesting way to record time.
People do this for city photography.
I can see it. I can see it. Because it's so dark, you're not picking up any reflection from the main subject unless they stay stationary for a long time.
He's not. See, the waves are moving him up and down, back and forth.
Right, right. So you never get him in focus, or you never get him properly exposed. Yeah.
But now I have to tell you guys why you need to do this math in your heads. Most camera systems fail to meter properly through an ND filter greater than 6 stops. Okay?
And that's why you need to figure it out ahead of time.
That's why you need to figure it out ahead of time, or use a handheld meter.
Gotcha.
That's a good idea. I can do that.
Okay? And you can get really small handheld meters. They're really cheap.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys talk for a minute. I'm going to go grab that other filter pack, okay?
Sure.
Okay, and when you come back, Mark, I have some questions. I lost my mic when you were talking about the black and white filters. Okay?
All right.
All right. I'm going to be right back, too. I'm just going to fill up my tea.
Okay, well then, Karen and Linda, it's us.
All right, so I'm trying to look at systems for. I see that Lee has just made this new filter system for compact cameras, for mirrorless type cameras called 7.5.
What is it? The square filters?
Yeah, it's by Lee, and it's called the 7.5 series, like the number 7 and the
So
number
you're
5.
on Amazon?
Yeah, and so I was looking at that, and then I know there's a company called View. I think it's called View, and that's the one that Matt Kloskowski uses for his Sony A7.
What's it called?
View, V-U. View filters.
Never heard of them.
Yeah, they're pretty new. I know there's I think it's the Format High Tech is another brand.
Yeah, I have the Format High Tech, and I like those.
Do you like those?
Yeah, I got them for the Canon, so now I have to figure out how to adapt them for the mirrorless, as far as the square little holder.
I think they have I think they too made a version for mirrorless.
Okay, is William still gone?
No, I'm here, buddy.
Okay, let's talk about metering real quick.
Okay, I'm going to get off of here and get on the other computer because the battery's dying.
Okay. This is old news to Sherry. She has one of these. This is a Seconic
I got one of those.
758.
Yep. I love that.
It's both spot and ambient. Okay. But the thing about this is you point this at any section of your composition and take a meter reading looking through the viewfinder, and it will tell you your baseline exposure, whatever ISO you have the meter set to.
Okay.
And then you can push a button on it, and it will tell you what it is at 10 stops, or 6 stops, or 3 stops.
Really? Ooh, I never did that. Okay. What button?
Huh?
Do you have to configure the button, or do you just...
Yes, you do.
Oh, see. That's why.
Okay, now, those meters are worth their weight in gold, but they're expensive.
I bought it a long time ago. I used to use it for my film cameras, but then I stopped when I went to digital.
All right. Here is a little Seconic L208. It cost about $80. It's both ambient and reflected by flipping this little white piece of plastic over the sensor.
Yeah.
It's not really spot. It's like a 4 or 5 degree spot, but you can aim it at your subject, and then you push the button on the side to take a reading. And see the little red dial?
Yeah.
There's a green dial, and you turn the green dial so that it matches up the red dial.
Huh.
And then you read the shutter speed and the aperture off this dial here.
So why would I get this one? I came in late.
You wouldn't. You have the 758.
Yeah. Okay.
But travel, this is way smaller. And
He's given the William cheapo option.
If you're out in the field too.
But I like the fact that it's small.
Yeah, it is small, and it's very, very accurate.
So does it have a range differently than because the other one will do spot. That one won't do spot, right?
Well, this one does spot. It's sold as a reflected and spot, or as a reflected spot meter or ambient.
Really?
It's just the spot isn't 1 degree like the Seconic 758 is.
Okay.
It's like 3 degrees, which is about the same as what your DSLR is.
Yeah.
Okay?
That's not a big loss then.
Yeah, but the thing is, you have to carefully aim this at what you want to aim it at.
Yeah.
Okay? Because you don't get any visual feedback. But it works very well. You simply aim it at the light, push the button, align the green dial with the red dial.
I kind of like that, though, because, I mean, I have the other one, but...
Yep. And then you can read off the dial at 1/60th. This says that this is F5.6. So then I can just count right down 6 stops or 3 stops. 60th, 30th, 15th, 8th, 4, 2, 1. And I've done the calculation right there for 6 stops.
Something else to buy.
That's kind of... But it's nice in the field because it's small.
Yes, it's cheap. It's
What kind of battery does it take?
It does take a little watch battery, but it's been in there for 3 or 4 years.
Wow.
The only time it turns on is when you push that button, and you let go of the button, then it locks the meter in place. It's dampened for about 30 seconds.
What model is it?
Yeah, what model?
This is the Seconic TwinMate. TwinMate L208. See the needle, the red needle that fell back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it comes in this cute little carrying case.
Always important.
Yep.
It's $126.
Well, I said it was about 80, but I bought it like 4 years ago.
I didn't get a
But you
used
can-
one. I've
you
got
can
an
find
old
it on
Western
sale.
one. Will that work?
You know, it's like I'm carrying that Indian
Yeah,
soul bag here.
yeah, the medicine pouch.
Yeah. I have my medicine pouch,
Yeah, I was gonna say. Kind of spirits are in there.
and it's a lot different than spending $700 on the big Seconic.
They have a Seconic used one, a big one at the local store, and they want like $350, $360.
What model?
I'll have to tell you, I didn't look that close.
Because there's two. There's the 758 and the 508.
I think
Okay.
I have the 508. I don't think that's as expensive, but
What
it
do I
works as well. It does spot metering and stuff.
Yeah.
It's used, Mark. It's not brand new. So
I have the
The 508 is a very good meter too.
Which
Okay,
one?
now let me show you.
The
The
L758DR.
Look at you, girl.
Huh?
You got the top line.
I guess.
Yeah, you do.
Doesn't even know. Oh, you
Yeah,
know.
well, then I can't buy the other one then.
Michael has the 758 too.
Who does?
Michael.
Your uncle?
Michael.
I was like, what does your uncle have to do with it?
He's an avid photographer.
Okay.
Okay. Now let's shift over to the neutral density filters. Okay, this one is a 4-stop graduated soft ND filter. This comes from Stingray. See how it's clear on the bottom?
Yeah.
And then it starts off gray and then it darkens real fast as it goes up.
Yeah. So is
Okay.
there I know there's hard and soft, but is there numbers associated with the grads too?
Yeah. No.
Okay. So there's no 6 or 3 or 10 or any of that.
Well, there is. This is a 4.
Oh, okay.
but if it's graduated, what does 4 measure?
4
Before it's the
stops.
dark part. See?
4 stops at what? The darkest or the
At the
lightest?
darkest.
That's the darkest.
Okay, I got you.
All right. Here's a solid ND filter.
Yeah.
Okay. This one is 6-stop.
Those don't look too big. Are those Lee ones?
These are the Lead 5. These are made for
Okay.
smaller cameras.
Right. That's what I was just telling Sherry when you stepped away about the 7
It's
stop.
called the Lee 75.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
All right.
one more thing.
No.
Here's a 3-stop solid. Here's a 10 stop, solid. Wait, I think that's the 10. Hold on.
This is the 10. This one.
Well, yeah, this has got to be the 10.
And it's got this little, why do they have this little gasket?
So that it doesn't light leak.
Yeah, likely.
Okay.
All right, but now I also just recently bought the 16.
How do you clean those, Mark? Just with a...
Careful.
They
Yeah.
come. They have a. They haven't even opened the 16.
must be nice.
They come with a little spray bottle cleaner in a really big white. 15 stops. See, 15 stops.
What's the thing on the back? That's a bumper?
That's the light leak gasket.
Gasket.
Oh, and that stays on.
Yeah.
Especially on wide angle, you get light leak along the edges, yeah?
That's pretty brutal.
Well, see, these square filters. That's not so much true.
Okay.
But the bracket that screws onto the front of your lens, this goes down into slots, like drawer slots. And the real large ND filters, the 10 and the 15, have those gaskets so that there can be no light leaking around the edge of the slot.
Okay. And and you put it in the slot closest to the lens.
Yes, and
That you can get it.
The 7.5 comes with 2 slots. All right, now this one is a reverse grad.
That's what you were telling us about earlier, yeah.
Okay, this one is a Stingray. This is a 3-stop. Let me see right there against my shirt.
Oh yeah.
See, it starts off slow, gets real dark real fast, and then opens up again at the top. This is for sunrise sunsets.
That's neat. You used that when we were on location, right, Charles?
Yeah. And you can, and then here is a 2-stop. Look against my shirt.
So, Mark, the reason they have, since you would always use the slot closest to the lens, the reason they have multiple slots is so you can stack.
Yes, you can
Gotcha.
stack. And on the
Gotcha.
7.5 system, you can stack 2.
Right.
On their big system, for bigger lenses, you can stack 3 to 5.
Right, okay.
Can one of those two be a screw-on, or do they both have to be plate?
No, you can have a screw-on too. But they also make a circular polarizer. And this goes on the outside of the adapter. The filters go in here, and you can see the attachment points.
So that goes on the very front, or
It goes on the
behind?
very front,
Oh,
and then you can change the.
wow.
Okay. This is a polarizer. And the reason they do this on the very front is to overcome vignetting on wide-angle lenses.
Oh, that makes sense. So
And
what's a scenario where you'd have that on the front and you put another plate in the back?
Well, if you couldn't get enough ND filter, this could give you 3 more stops.
Got a question for you. What's the difference between a hard edge and a soft edge? That's what I've always been confused over.
Well, you saw how the soft edge started very light and got darker? That's a soft edge.
Oh, you're talking about the graduated part in the middle? That's
Yeah.
what you're referring
A
to?
hard edge is just that. It goes from clear to 4 stops in one
Gotcha.
hard line.
Okay.
I have those too, but I have never used them, so I have this little bag that holds about 10 to 12 filters. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And if I wanted to put all my hard stop NDs in here, I'd have to have a bigger case, and I don't use them. So this is see how nice and small it is. I can attach it to the side of my camera bag.
And get different colors to match your shoes.
Yeah. Now you can get all the black and white filters. Okay. You can get all of the color filters, the 81A and B. There are a zillion filters you can get from Lee. And Lee makes a couple different sizes. This is the 7.5, and what that means is it's 75 millimeters wide. The next size up is I think they make a 90 millimeter wide set and a 100 millimeter wide set. I think they have it 3 sizes.
So if my lens, if my filter size on my lens, like that 10 to 24, is a 72, will that 75
this will fit it. The
It will.
7.5 it goes up to 72 millimeters.
Okay. So do I have to get when you get the holder, do you have to buy step-down rings to get
Yes.
it to? Okay.
No, there are special rings from Lee.
But what's the native size out of the box?
Oh, there's no native size.
Oh, so you have to make sure you
You
get it.
have to have rings.
Got it.
And you can get them all the way down to 36 millimeters, all the way up to 72 millimeters.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, and they're the cheapest part of the system.
Yeah, I noticed.
They're about $20 a piece.
They've got a deluxe set for in Amazon. It's like $625, but it's got the big stopper, a 6, a 9, a 6 grad filter, and a polarizer, and then they got
Okay. And it probably includes the connection kit.
correct.
That's a good price.
Really?
I mean, yeah. I mean, you see this?
I just bought a camera for that
This
price.
is about $1,200.
Damn. See, I would lose it. No, I wouldn't. I tried not.
Oh no, I've had this for years. I've never broken one or dropped one or lost one.
Nice.
And I have all of the adapters because when I'm doing workshops, I never know who's going to want to use it.
Yeah, that's nice. Now, I have one other question, and one of the things they're selling here is a C-pack or Seascape pack, and it's all hard grads.
Yes, yeah, I'm not interested in those.
It's a hard edge because they expect you to put it right at the horizon line?
Right at the horizon, but you know, with the soft grad, you don't notice it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think there's probably that much of it.
I've got the hard edges. I've got a set of 4 hard grads, or 3 set. I got a set of 3. I have honestly never used them.
Okay.
But if you're going to do serious sunrise, sunset, waterfalls, anything with a bright sky and a dark foreground, this is the system to have. James is buying one of these right now, the complete set, because he is so interested in sunrises and sunsets. Now, Lee doesn't sell the reverse grad, soft grad ND. You've got to go to Stingray and buy that. But they're real good about it, and the filters aren't that expensive from Stingray. If you call them up and say, I need it for the 7.5 Lee system, they will cut it down for you.
Really?
Yep. They are really good.
Do they have their own system?
They do not have their own system. They make 100 millimeter wide filters for everybody else's system.
I got you. And they'll cut the 100 millimeter down to 75 for you.
They cut it down to 75.
Gotcha.
All right.
No, go ahead.
They're both the Stingray and the Lees. They're real high quality. Now, Richard was complaining a couple of weeks ago about getting color shifts using the B+W system, and I had that with some of my filters, and I sent them back until they sent me one that worked. Sherry, didn't you have that same problem?
She ran away.
Sherry. No.
But you know that's
I thought I was muted and I was having a conversation. No, it was Shauna. Didn't she have something that had?
it was Rhonda.
Rhonda, maybe.
Okay.
I haven't No, because since I've had the Sony, I haven't been using them because they're way too big for the Canon.
Yeah.
So now I need to buy new ones.
No, you could cut them down. You could take them to a glass shop
I'm
and
getting
cut
rid of
them
my
down.
Canon system yet.
Yeah, but you're going to. You are changing everything to one camera system and one lens. I mean, I know what you're doing, and it makes perfect sense.
I'm not quite there because I still like some of my Canon glass. I'm not quite there because I like my Canon camera.
Well, girl, I mean, you know what my grandma
Two systems.
You know what my grandma always said.
Oh Lord, we got to talk about grandmothers now.
What did Grandma
What did
say?
she say?
She said, "Girl, either shit or get off the pot."
There you
I'm
go.
gonna do both. How's that?
I didn't hear you.
I said I'm going to do both. How's that?
That's gonna get messy.
You're ambidextrous on
No,
that.
I'm not going to do it off the pot though.
Yeah.
You guys,
You said you're gonna do both.
there we go, taking me down the path again, huh?
Yeah, but no. In all honesty, you can have them cut down. Just go to a glass shop.
I don't want to.
Save you $1,000.
What I want to do is get the ring holder,
Yep.
or filter holder, and one filter
Yeah.
before I cut anything down.
You know, what filter is it going to be?
I don't know, but I'm looking at the starter kit. One filter, one ring holder, $150.
There you go. And it probably includes the
Six.
big stopper.
No, the 6 hard edge. I don't want a
Okay.
hard edge.
Oh,
They have the little stopper. Do you think you'd use that more than the big stopper?
I use the big stopper most of all.
Because of the like ocean water, like you're
Yeah.
at the beach.
Yeah.
And all of my friends that have the big stopper wish they hadn't bought it.
Really?
Yeah, we were told to buy it to go to Iceland, and none of them use it.
And why do they not like it? Because takes too long, or?
Well, I think part of it is where we live. We don't live near the ocean like Mark does, so we don't have that many things they can use it on.
Yeah, if you're going to shoot waterfalls, you don't need 10 stops.
But do even for seascapes, could you get away with a 6 and put another one in there instead of getting a 10? Or?
As long as you weren't shooting them in bright daylight. Yes.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. But you're saying like if I was at my beach, I'd go usually sunrise, sunset kind of thing. So
Yeah.
then would I necessarily use that big stopper anyway, or would I use that with the reverse grad?
You would right as the sun's touching the horizon. But 10 minutes later, you're going to be taking that off and going to 6, and then you're going to be going to 3. It's ever changing as the light diminishes.
I just wonder how much I would use it, I guess.
That is a very astute observation.
Well, yeah. Because I'm thinking,
Yeah, I'm
I'd
thinking
rather have the
one
reverse.
filter.
Karen,
Yeah.
why don't you get a 3 and a 6 and see if you find you need a 10?
I bought, when I went on that trip out west, and I'm going again in this September, I bought the cheapy ones, though. I bought the Tiffin 3, 6, and 9, and I was completely clueless as to when to really use it, and I'm not even sure that they were applicable in the environment I was in.
It just takes practice. I mean, and the light changes so fast, you're going to be changing your filters on the fly pretty fast, too.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
William, you
that's
said you
how
had a
we
couple questions.
Yeah, I just real quick, Mark. When I think I understood you correctly, I wanted to ask earlier. When you're shooting black and white with a digital camera, of course, you're shooting in color mode and then converting later. Those filters you were showing us really have no effect then, correct?
No.
Is that what you were saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
But there was a caveat on that.
Yeah, if you shoot JPEG.
Yes, change it to JPEG, put on the black and white artistic mode, and then use your filters, and you will have the full effect of them.
Right. Now that effect you showed us with the platinum in the water, that would only be, you could only capture that by going into a JPEG mode and shooting with the filters, correct?
It's not the JPEG mode, it's the black and white
black
mode.
Black and white, right. But to get into black and white with JPEG. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
You'll never achieve that in post-processing, not in a million years.
Okay, that's all I needed to know. I
Okay.
just want to make sure I understood correctly.
All right. Any other questions?
Hey, yeah, one other question, Mark. Didn't Leica make a camera that shot raw monochrome?
Yeah, I've got it.
The M8, right?
The M9.
The M9, okay.
It's the M9 monochrome. M-O-C-H-R-O-M, no E.
Now that Rika makes one as well, don't they? That shoots monochrome?
I don't know. There were a couple camera companies out there that did it. And Leica just came out with a new monochrome. Mine, the M9, has a CCD sensor instead of CMOS.
Right.
And it'll allow exposures up to 4 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, and there's no anti-aliasing filter. There's no RGB filters on the lenses of the wells. Every single pixel is seeing full-blown monochrome.
Cool.
It's an 18 megapixel camera, but if you equate that out to a Brer array of 3x3 RGB, GBR, GGR in the sensor boxes, those 9 sensor wells are equating to 1, and then the camera extrapolates colors around it.
Okay.
Okay, it guesses. In the monochrome, you're getting true 18 megapixel monochromatic data. So that's basically the same as multiplying that times at least a factor of 3.
Yeah, I know the Merrill shoots monochrome mode, but I'm not sure that you can do it in RAW. I need to check on that.
Believe it or not, there are companies that will take a camera and convert it to monochrome.
Okay, to shoot in RAW.
Especially the Canons. They really like converting the Canons.
Okay.
Yep. I haven't picked up my color Leica M240. Oh, and that's another thing I was going to say. My monochrome is an M9. It's 18 megapixel. They just came out with an M246 monochrome about a year ago. It's 24 megapixel monochrome only, and it has a CMOS sensor. But they limit the shutter speed to 60 seconds and bulb. Okay. And that's not long enough for what I want. So I will always keep my M9 monochrome because it'll do 4 minutes.
Okay.
And it is an amazing camera. It is. I mean, I've bought into the Sony A7R2 and the A6300 camera bodies.
What happened to your Leicas?
It's for color. The A7R2 and the 6300 work better. They do. They do a better job than my Leica M240. And the Leica M240 did a good job too. But I'm getting much better quality images out of the Sony, so I'm sold. But nothing will beat my monochrome. There's just no way around that. It's just like shooting film. Only better.
You know, Mark, I was just looking on the Merrill, the Sigma Merrill.
Yeah.
And it's shooting black and white raw.
Okay.
It looks like it to me. The little point and shoot I have.
There you go.
So then the filter would work.
Then the filter would work.
Excellent. That's what I wanted to know. Okay. Thank you, sir.
All right. Was this helpful?
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
This was a lot of fun. This was a lot of fun.
This was a very good one. Thank you, Mark. I really appreciate
It's
it. I learned a
much better
lot.
than the one last night.
Well, the one last night would have been good too if the internet hadn't failed 4 times.
Oh, that's not good.
I learned quite a bit. Thank you very much.
Same here.
Very-
Thank
So
you.
if you do a workshop and the workshop is centered around ND filters, let me know.
That
Let's
would
go
be
to Jekyll.
the
Let's go.
Outer Banks and the Jekyll Island one. Oh, the Jekyll Island was so good.
Let's
But
go
when are
there.
you going to do the Outer Banks?
We're doing that in November, January.
and-
We've already got it scheduled. It's January. It's
Oh,
going to be in January. Yep, it's going to be
it's gonna be
cold.
cold.
Gotta
Here.
be. You're going to do
Gotta be
long
cold
exposure.
here.
You're going to do long exposure at the ocean. You want it to be in the wintertime so that it will be later when the sun comes up.
Yeah,
You don't have to get up so early.
there you go.
Oh, yeah, uh-huh.
When were you in Jekyll? What month were you there?
It was about 2 months ago.
So that was after Charleston, right? So later
Yes, it was after Charleston.
May. Okay.
And that one was sponsored by Nampa. That's the first time I've done a workshop for Nampa, and that was great fun.
Terry, we'll just go and we'll ask Mark to drop in.
We'll just
Yeah,
get Mark to go with us. And,
Yeah.
it's not very far. It really isn't. I would meet you guys. I would meet you guys down in Jekyll. That's a wonderful location.
where is Jekyll? You guys are sending me places I have not been.
It's off the coast of Georgia.
It's off the coast of Georgia. It's down by Brunswick.
Yeah. You could go to Cumberland too. Have you been to Cumberland?
Cumberland Island, yes.
That's nice too. It's just harder to get to.
Okay, set it up, Karen.
Jekyll was great.
Okay. I think that'd be
All
a
right.
good practice place.
Yeah. All right. Let me stop the broadcast here.